Well, good morning, everyone. I am Marion, the inappropriate artist, and yes, it is chilly in the desert in the morning. Let me tell you, all night long. uh, Today's video, it is a bit of a ramble for me. You could call it a pondering, but it's more of a business pondering than a philosophical pondering. Um, so I hope you stick around. I have a few ideas that I'm throwing out there because I'm trying to increase my profitability here in the van so that I can start a savings toward a new home. So I am at the point where that is becoming more and more of a necessity because this baby only has so much of a lifespan. So I hope you stick around and listen to, I know it's a lot of rambling, so maybe put in your earbuds. You can do other things. When I say I'm putting something up, you can take a quick peek. All right, let's get busy. So these are a couple of little miniatures that I finished while I was over at Dome Rock. Yes, when we were parked over at Dome Rock, I painted these. Aren't they cute? I love them, the business cards. The cactus already sold. It was a quick one. One of my compadres here wanted it, and the 20 came in very handy. I haven't used it yet. It's like going to be my emergency cash because how often do I get paid cash? Not often. It's usually like a Venmo or a PayPal. So, oh, the other thing I wanted to throw out there. Um, so I don't do rewards on Patreon. It's just more information, right? Like they usually are more when they get a post, it's like exactly where I am in that moment. And I so they get a what do you call it? Yeah, like the lens clips are as happening. So real time. Oh my God. Good morning, Marion. Coffee's kicking in. At least I figured it out before like this was over. Um yeah, so Patreon does get real time when I post. Um and or they get like elongated writing uh about the images that I'm posting, or they get like a series of photographs that are of a painting in process, right? And then I talk about the process. Or it's just it is very random as far as my thinking and what kinds of posts I make. But that's me. I'm a very random person. So I'm just embracing it right now. And everybody gets the same thing. So I have 3 tiers, 5, 10, and 30. And then I've noticed like you can also make your own tier because I have a couple of patrons who have made their own tier. Thank you. And so that's something you can do. Now Patreon also um when you become a member is the day of the month that you get charged. So that's cool. Um and let's see what else. Um I think that's it. So Patreon is a way for me to create a passive income to a certain extent, right? Like, I mean, I create content just specifically for Patreon. What I create there does not get copied and pasted anywhere. So, my writing there is my writing specifically for Patreon. Um, they also get updates on the book that you guys wouldn't get on YouTube. So, because it's spur of the moment usually for them. And yeah. And so 5, 10, 30, make your own tier, whatevs. If you only can be a member for a couple of months, you can only be a member for a couple of months. It's that simple. I am offering people, if they don't want to do that, and they would rather create something for themselves. So, like, I have a friend who has done this, has committed to $25 a month for 1 year. And at the end of the year, they want a painting. So that's really cool. So that's $300. So that's a painting of size. That's a 9 by 12 painting. That's a nice thing. So if you wanted to do that, or you wanted to commit to a longer period of time and get an even larger painting, if people want to commit to a monthly payment, and at the end of the year, I then paint them a painting at the skill level that I've reached by the end of the year, right? So if you've been following along with me, you see that this is not, by the way, an 80s statement, although it could be. This is, I have hot flashes intermittently, and so this is ventilation. The rest of my body is cold. So, I have to keep the rest of it warm. Anyway, oh, wow. So, okay. I hope you like that idea. If you do, my email is below at, so no @ sign. This is the thing about English and then abbreviations and technology. I misspeak and people get the wrong address because I've used language that can also be techno speak. Anyway, I get myself in trouble all the time. My email address is theinappropriateartist at gmail.com. There you go. So very simple. Yeah. If you're interested in a painting and you want to commit, you don't get the painting till the end of the year, because the cool thing is what you're doing with your commitment is, one, you're helping me survive, you're helping me travel, but you're also helping me buy art supplies more regularly. There's a reason I have kind of halted the acrylic path, because I'm conserving my pigment right now. I may get asked to do murals here, and I would absolutely have to use acrylic paint. At least, I have to have enough to do one of decent size to be able, and so I've been saving that, and I'm not putting it down on canvas right now. I can't take that chance, because to replace these tubes of paint, they're like $30 a tube. This is not an inexpensive hobby. This is a job that I've made for myself, right? And this is a business. So selling paintings helps me pay for paintings. I can produce more when I have more income. It also helps when I'm not trying to scrounge and find food and all of that stuff. If I have a fluid income, which is why Patreon is helpful, but also this idea of knowing. So this friend of mine has decided $25 a month. But say you want a painting that is mantle size. Okay. So what would mantle size be? Well, one means I have to have a place to paint it. But I think I could finagle that. I've been very lucky that way. And when I've needed space, it has appeared. Um, or the right weather conditions have appeared so that I can paint outside, right? Uh, Whatever it is. Um, but yeah, so with a painting of size like that, I would need specific materials, right? Like larger brushes. Uh, and um, I have some flow medium that someone gave me, and I haven't tried yet. So it's supposed to create long, smooth brush strokes, consistent blocks of color, clean up with warm, soapy water. So I don't know. I think I would put this like in a jar and dip my brush and then put my brush in the pigment, right? Like to work it little by little, like use it like water in a watercolor or gouache. I think that's how I would apply this, at least to start, see how it works. And I'm curious about bonding and if this changes color over time. Because that will make me very unhappy as a human. I will be very... As a preservation picture framer, I would be very unhappy to find out that this would like suddenly make everything get really nasty looking over time. Or does it not bond properly and pop off? And I ain't talking vodka. I'm talking paint cracking and popping off the canvas. Now, oil will do that. Well, that was process and stuff. I mean, they've found ways. There are ways we have discovered through through viewing and caring for antiquity, through anthropology, finding old pieces of artwork and which ones have lasted the longest and why, right? Like what, this is what I used to do. So, okay, now here's devil's advocate, or whatever you want to call it. The other side of me's going, dude, Marion, whoa, way too much thought is going into this. It's stopping you from doing things. Because if you want to find out, you have to do research, and you don't want to do research. And then I have this wonderful flag by this artist, Josie Mark, whom I love. And I love on the back, she signed cheering for Marion. I love that. But her philosophy, at least for this one show that we put together, right, that we installed together at her old high school, or finishing school, or whatever you want to call it, back in Connecticut. We installed this show, and it was all these flags and Japanese paper and different things, right? She collage and painting, and she's a colorist and landscape, and each of them are just fun and cheerful and have this, like, she really it was such a joyful show. It really was. I mean, Anyway, her philosophy behind that, at least through conversation, what I gleaned was that art is ephemeral. That was really hard for me. Oh my God. And it's still like I feel my body cringe. Because like everything in me wants to preserve it. But art is ephemeral. Oh. Okay. That might be a little dramatic. But only a little. It's hard to think about. As an artist, if I'm really being honest, yeah. I mean, I'm looking right now, I'm looking at the art I have in the van. I'll show you. So here I have my little oil by Ruth Raby, painted in 1990, and you can see how covered in dust it is. Yes, I do not dust it very often, if ever. Right now I kind of consider the dust to be protection. I consider it to be a protective layer. Yeah. So this painting is an oil on canvas, and you can see where mineral was caught in the pigment and it has gotten rusty. That's what those two spots are in the sky. Little bits of metal that were caught in the pigment. And then over here, so that's an oil. Yes, I made that frame, painted it, stained it. I didn't route it, but I did put it together like a puzzle out of lots of different pieces. That's a strainer behind there, and then wood spacers, and to fit into the rabbit to make the shadow box. And it's all movable parts, so it's as nailless as I could make it. That way expansion and contraction can happen, which is kind of cool. Ha ha, it can be done. And there's no glue. That wood spacer in the side is not glued in. Those are beautiful miter cuts, and they drop in and fit and are allowed to expand and contract. I've painted them completely blue so that they can do it. Space can happen. It's okay, right? And they're maple, so they really keep their shape well. This is a small painting, so it's totally doable. The larger it gets, the harder that is to maintain, because just, well, length equals bow. Over here I have this awesome etching by Joel Beckwith of Robert Frost. I love this frame. It was a rescue. Someone told me, you can just throw it out. I was like, oh my God. It had the yellowy green color of a horribly varnished old quarter sawn maple, right? So you saw the honey color. Like it was just yuck. Anyway, so I sanded it down and took all of that green shellac off, and so this beautiful, like, walnutty almost color was left, right? Really pretty. I wish I'd saved a tiny little bit to show you what the old finish looked like, because it was really horrific. But this in here was some serious, that was a lot of patience. Hand sanding all these little tiny things and bits. And I love this back piece here. Beautiful old frame. And they told me to throw it out. Anyway, I had this gorgeous, I always loved this, and I was saving it and for the right home. And I was in the mood to make this really cool French mat which I did, and it is a really cool French mat. I know the glass is filthy, guys, and I'm not going to pretend. I live in a van and I killed the fly. That's what happened. So that's an 8-ply mat that I marbleized, right? So using 3-4 colors, I think. I created that and I taped it off, right? And then I pulled the tape off. Well, actually, what I do first is I do all the lines first. I plot out my dots in all the corners. Then I draw all my lines with a ruling pen using gouache, and that's how I first got into gouache. Right here is what you see is how I first started using gouache. So I understood the medium before I started painting landscapes. This is one of my favorite paintings, my favorite pieces. One, because of all the work that I put into it, but two, because Robert Frost, of course, the road less traveled. So, and now, and I know it's dust covered, but I'm going with the ephemeral feel here. This is Josie's flag. And I'm going to unpeel it for you so you can see. Ta-da! There it is. And I'm not going to move it because this magnet is really strong and it was kind of a mistake for me to put it on there. I'm going to have to be really, really careful taking that off. Otherwise, it's going to rip the paper. And the angle is funny because of where it is. But that's my Josie flag. And you can really see 3 different ways you can display art in a van. It can be done. I put mine in Mylar bags, for the most part, unless it's bigger than the size that I have, because I can't get another size right now. So until I have like a real influx of cash, then I can order different size bags. But I don't have that right now. So I am making do. But I display in Mylar bags, and when you seal the bag, you create a pocket that you can hang from. And so I kind of make it so that you can hang it from a string. Or you can put a double-sided tape on the back of the Mylar and stick it up on the side of your van. You know, or put it up with magnets, right? Because the Mylar will protect the paper and the artwork. So you're okay. When I put them in Mylar bags, I'm trying not to varnish them. Yes, that means no water can get on the art. However, if I varnish, the color deadens and you lose this amazing vibrancy. Like this last painting I did of the cactus, right? Here, I'll put it up here again. If I varnish that, all of those like yellow greens would deaden and become gray almost. And I didn't want to do that because when the light gets like that out here, it is really luminescent, and I want to show that. And I know gouache can be very luminescent. I do not have a clear coat. I have a wax. So if I had access to a good clear coat, but I hate using aerosols, so that I also have an issue with that. For numerous reasons. But like spraying glue out, which is basically what a clear coat is. You're spraying glue. I don't like to do that out in nature or even in, just not a fan. Not to mention, I've done, like I said, preservation for so long that unbeknownst to you at the time when you're first spraying, and you can really, I mean, if I was doing it regularly and had a good practice, I'd have a good spraying arm and a consistent stream. But if you don't have a consistent stream, over time, those first droplets that hit the paper show up. Yeah, they do. And yeah, you can't get rid of them. So there's that. So yeah, that's why I don't like to use it. I don't like to use varnish. It's not like pastel, where like with pastel, maybe if I used a workable fixative, right? Maybe if I used a workable fixative, I could, right, spray that first layer and then paint over the top of it to re-brighten it, maybe. That's an idea. But I still don't like the idea of the fixative on the paper. It's like those droplets, man. Dude, when you've seen them, you don't unsee them. I am just rambling now, aren't I? So, point is, I was saying, message me, email me, whatever, if you are interested in investing, committing to just a year worth of, or two, depending on what size commitment you can make a month. Right? This person can make $25 commitment a month. Maybe you can commit $50 a month. Dude, if you can commit $100 a month, that's $1,200. I'll tell you. Hold on. Let me do some mathing. Okay, so that's a 16 by 20 or a 10 by 26 panoramic, which is kind of fun. I like doing those. It does mean I have to buy a large piece of paper because I don't have anything that size. And I have to have something to put it down on so that I can work on it. There's equations to me doing that in gouache, but as far as if I do it in acrylic is concerned, I can pre-purchase canvases. 10 by 26 is an odd size. I'd have to look into what their panoramics are. But anyway, because I charge by the square foot, so that's why I'm doing all this. Trying to math. My mathing skills are limited, but when it comes to framing and painting and the equation, it's pretty basic. So to discover square footage, it's width times height divided by 144, and then that answer gets multiplied times my price per square foot, which is now $500 a square foot. I started at 2, I was at 4, but now I am at 5 because inflation is inflation. When I sell a painting, I need it to not only, every sale literally gets split up. Like, some has to go in the gas tank, some has to go in this gas tank, right? And then nugget, and then, once that's done, usually there's nothing left. But I would like to get to the point where I have a surplus so that I can then invest in materials because every time I paint, there's this anxiety if I can't replace this pigment, right? Like, that's what happens. And so I believe, like, if we can make a promise to each other, right? You're investing in me, plus you're getting a year's worth of brush mileage under my belt. So I can, and I've been on air long enough, I hope. So I have there's people out there who know that what I'm doing, I'm continuing to do, and I'm going to continue to do it, and it would take a whole lot for me to stop. Like, I would have to, I think, lose. Shh! I'm not putting that in the universe. Oh my God, no. Shh. No. And I didn't even think it. Oh, now I've got Cat Stevens in my head. You know. And if I ever lose my mouth or my teeth, north and south. Oh, if I ever lose my mouth, oh, if I won't have to talk. That's as good a place as any to stop. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. If you're interested in becoming a patron, please check out the link below in the description, as well as my email address is also below in the description if you're interested in partnering for a painting. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.